Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. Way back in 2021, I made Heroes Explained, a testament to my dedication to covering even the most ridiculously bloated of themes. Comprising more than 4 sub-themes and over 200 cards, I had to bring in other Yu-Gi tubers just to help bear the brunt of such a massive card pool. But by God did we do it. However, it was also a testament to my hubris. Heroes, at the time, should have been tapped out. It felt like the perfect time to make a comprehensive collection of the entire roster. But then we got new Destiny heroes. Then new Neo support. Now even evil heroes have reared their heads to say this fan favorite theme will never be done with. After all these years, no matter my accomplishments, it's not me that's conquered heroes. I've been the one chasing after them this whole time. Even now, I have to contend with the fact that heroes are no longer confined to the base game. They've escaped containment. Heroes are now in Rush Duels. And so, for my very first explained video for Rush themes, I felt there to be no better subject than to continue hunting down my white whale once again. Keep an eye out for the signal and be ready to don your costume and cowl, cause it's time for Rush Heroes Explained. Today's episode is brought to you by Raycon. Stick around to see how you can save up to 30% on some amazing audio accessories. So what's the deal with heroes? Well, in Rush, answering that is more important than it might seem on the surface. See, I have to be very careful with how I refer to them, because Rush does not have archetypes, at least in the way we're used to them. Sure, you may see familiar names like Seven's Road, or Elemental Hero, or Beast Gear, but notably, card effects don't really name the names of cards to show what they support, instead opting to check for specific conditions. For heroes, that usually means we're looking for warriors, normal warriors most of the time, and fusion monsters that can only be summoned via fusion summoning of a particular level range. But even then, we have some schisms to keep an eye out for. In this video, we can divide the hero offerings into roughly 3 categories: Elemental Hero, Neos, and the new Rising heroes that have never been seen outside of Rush. And for the first 2 sections, we'll be gliding over the cards that work exactly the same, giving an overview of the cards that work differently in their Rush reincarnation, then moving on to the new toys we get to play with. For Elemental Heroes, we've got Avion, Burstinatrix, Clayman, and Sparkman with all the same stats as their originals. For the fusions, Flame Wingman, Thunder Giant, and Mudball Man of all things also work like their old counterparts. So if you see them, you don't really have to adjust anything. Okay, that's not entirely true. Flame Wingman's burn effect is now a continuous one instead of triggering on destroying a monster, while Thunder Giant sends a card from your hand to the graveyard instead of discarding it. But that's arguably getting a bit too into the weeds. For the cards that have had some creative license to them, Bubble Man no longer special summons itself from the hand if it's the last card in your hand, though normal summons are unlimited in Rush, so it's not that bad of a deal. If anything, we have an improvement here, because the draw has the same condition, you can't have any other cards in your hand or field, but is an ignition effect that we can use during the turn it's summoned instead of triggering the moment it is summoned. So if it becomes the lone card past its summon, you still have an opportunity to refill your hand. Prisma no longer sends a monster from deck to graveyard to get its name. Now, you just reveal a fusion and name one of the listed material, and there you go, it's now treated as that name. For material, anyway, unlike the original that just had its name, period. So we don't get free graveyard setup, but otherwise, I think this is a strict upgrade, since now it can mimic material not found in the main deck. I guess it also kinda sucks it's a legend card, so it's basically pre-limited. Rude. Mariner is so close to being the same monster, but now requires you to mill a card on top of meeting the set card condition. Honestly, baffled why this is here, but whatever. Shining Flare Wingman is also really close here, but remember how this game doesn't really do archetypes anymore? Now, instead of checking the amount of elemental heroes in your grave for its attack boost, now it just cares about warrior monsters in general being in your grave, which makes this a great splash in any warrior deck that can make it. Heck, with the changes to Prisma, you can literally have it become the Flame Wingman portion to make this easier to summon. It's kinda wild. Miracle Fusion is probably one of the strangest imports. Another thing Rush Duels doesn't really do is the banishment. So instead of Miracle Fusion banishing the material, it puts them on the bottom of your deck. How considerate. Our last almost the same card highlights another thing Rush Duel avoids. Skyscraper in Rush gives Avion, Burstinatrix, Clayman, Sparkman, Bubbleman, Neos, and every level 5 to 8 warrior fusion monster a 1000 attack boost as long as they're on the side of the field of the turn player. So you gain a boost during your turn, while your opponent gets a boost on their own turn if they have any of those monsters. But this is vastly different from the original version, which only gave your E-heroes a boost when it was attacking a monster that had a higher attack than it. But they couldn't have really done that here, because aside from archetypes, Rush doesn't really do trigger effects. It was the reason they could be so lenient with Bubbleman earlier, and why Skyscraper is now a fantastic boost to help your monsters not only defeat others, but get in for lots of damage. I honestly can't believe I live in a timeline where I think Skyscraper is unironically good in something. Alright, with all those out of the way, let's talk about the actual factual new cards we get to play with. First up, we have Card Defender, a level 3 Earth Warrior monster with 400 attack and defense. Its effect has no requirement, and has a continuous effect that, during your opponent's turn, spell and trap cards on your field can't be returned to the hand, deck, or extra deck by card effects. And if you have a face-up Warrior Normal monster or Warrior Fusion monster on your field, face-up monsters on your field gain 1000 attack. Now, this may not look like a hero monster, and that's because it's not. It's more of a riff on Jaden's Armor Breaker, Spell Striker, and most closely, Card Blocker monsters. But those were little utility creatures. Since Card Defender checks for normal and fusion warriors, it might as well just say Elemental Hero right on the box. As for what it does, I'm no expert, but I'd hazard a guess and say that the things Defender protects against are common ways to remove spell and trap cards, though I'm at a loss as to why you would need to protect them from being returned to the extra deck. I did some poking around, and apparently this is language seen on a few cards released around the same time, so maybe we're in for something big in a bit. The attack boost is nice, acting as a nifty complement to Skyscraper to keep the boost going during our opponent's turn, but we'll need some good protection still, because while the power level is lower for this game, 1400 attack still doesn't seem like enough to stand up against your basic combat threat. So do your best and give it some extra help. Wouldn't want it to buckler under the pressure, would ya? Hero Boy is a level 3 Earth Warrior monster with 300 attack and 600 defense, and its requirement is that you have either Fusion or Skyscraper in your grave. The effect has you adding up to 2 normal warrior monsters and or Fusion from your grave to your hand, then you send a monster from your field to the graveyard. Now, that doesn't have to be Hero Boy, but it should probably be Hero Boy. It's not exactly doing much with those stats after all. This seems like a fantastic way to recycle your Fusion spell card while getting you back some material, and since you aren't wasting a normal summon due to having as many as you want, this is just a stellar piece of recycling. The power level of Rush may be lower than the current TCG, but it's certainly better than what it was back in GX times. Seriously, Hero Kids, step your game up. Rot Wyvern is a level 7 Earth Machine monster with 1800 attack and 2200 defense, and if you have a face-up normal warrior monster on your field, you can special summon this card from your hand to your field in face-up defense position. Its effect has no requirements, and that effect has you sending the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Then you can add a copy of Fusion from your graveyard to your hand. Another fantastic way to get more Fusion summons into rotation, and fills up your grave for cards like Miracle Fusion. The biggest issue here is that it doesn't really fit in as Fusion material itself for any of our summons, so you do actually run the risk of this clogging up your field. Now, this is just random speculation here, but I feel like what you could do is use it as fodder to tribute summon for Neos and free things up that way. Rush heads, let me know down below if I'm onto something or if there's something way more competent you can do with this. Either way, this has got to be the best callback I've seen so far. You know, cause there's Rottweiler, Rottwyvern. It's pretty good. Way better than Friend Dog turning into Friend Dragon. That's Little League levels of wordplay. Elemental Circulation is a normal spell card that requires you to reveal a level 6 or 7 warrior fusion monster from your extra deck, and send a warrior monster listed as material on that monster from your hand to the grave. The effect draws you 3 cards, then sends a card from your hand to the graveyard, but you can't activate the effects of non-warrior monsters until the end of the turn. So you know how I said that drawing cards wasn't as good in Rush Duels? Well, it's not quite so bad when you're setting up some kind of combo. Honestly, it's pretty good that it goes net neutral in card advantage, putting 2 cards into the graveyard that might make for good material for Miracle Fusion. Heck, it can even dig you into Miracle Fusion. The warrior effect limitation is a little scuffed when it comes to utilizing the neo-spacian cards, but they're a small price to pay for a bigger payoff. Honestly, the only big hoo-ha is that you have to have the right monster in hand to send to the graveyard, but because you can pick any of your fusion monsters, it's probably not that much of a stretch. Besides, you might as well. It'll certainly be good for your circulation. Burning Wind is a normal trap card that requires an opponent's level 5 or higher monster to declare an attack targeting your monster. The effect itself makes a face-up warrior monster on your field gain 1000 attack until the end of the turn, then you can choose which of your monsters becomes the attack target for your opponent's attack. Oh, now that's pretty insidious. Pump up your biggest monster and make your opponent crash into it. The cool part is that it only works on high-leveled monsters, so it's got some counterplay that decks with smaller monsters can work with. But if you run big monsters, you'll have to keep an eye out for this. And hey, remember how I said that Card Defender needed something to protect it? Get a load of this! Now we just have to make sure that we're not too careless when it comes to the spreading of the Burning Wind, because things have not been good for the environment recently and I don't want this to make it any worse. Elemental Hero Voltic Wingman is a level 5 Light Warrior fusion monster with 2000 attack and 1600 defense, requiring Elemental Hero Sparkman and Avion as material. Like with all Elemental Hero fusions, both before and after this one, though only kind of, it must be fusion summoned, and its effect requirement is that it's activated during your main phase that you special summoned this card, with that effect allowing you to perform another fusion summon of a level 6 to 8 warrior monster that can't be special summoned except by fusion summon by shuffling the materials from your grave into the deck. Hell yeah, an Avion and Sparkman fusion. You don't get that in the TCG. It's basically an extra body that bridges you into another fusion monster, getting you double duty out of your fusion spell while rewarding you for filling up your grave. Cleverly, because it fusion summons 6 to 8, you can't just make a second copy of this off of the first one, but there is a really good target for this coming up in just a couple cards. But boy howdy am I getting another really big bout of Rush Jealousy. After the Power of Elements support, do you know how much more Wingman monsters would be great to have? Elemental Hero Burst Wingman is a level 6 Fire Warrior fusion monster with 2100 attack and 1200 defense, requiring Elemental Heroes Avion and Burstinatrix as material. Its requirement is sending the top card of your deck to the grave, and the effect increases the attack of a face-up warrior monster on your field by 1000 until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then you can destroy a spell or trap card on your opponent's field. Now that's outrageous. Not only does this effectively make it a 3100 attack monster, which would be impressive by TCG standards, it also gets rid of a back row card, and those are very strong in rush duels. Even aiming blindly at the back row isn't that bad because with the reduced field size, you never have less than a 33% chance to hit something good. But wait, hold on, if you choose to make Burst instead of Flame Wingman, you're missing out on the post-battle burn damage. A tough trade if I do say so myself. Elemental Hero Heliosphere is a level 7 Light Warrior fusion monster with 2800 attack and defense, requiring Elemental Heroes Sparkman, Avion, and Burstinatrix as material. Its requirement is that you have 10 or more cards in your deck, and the effect draws you a card and shows it. If the card is a monster, you can destroy a card on your opponent's field. Here it is, this universe's version of Elemental Hero Tempest, and honestly, I think this is another banger. Esoteric and unwieldy battle protection doesn't really hold a candle to draw, then pop a card if you're lucky. And the best part is, if you just made Voltic Wingman, 2 of the 3 material you need are already in the grave. All you need is Burstinatrix and you're good to go. And if you don't, Miracle Fusion is here to bail you out. But the most impressive thing of all is that it proves that we can do frame breaks in this game. Look, I hate to keep harping on about how cool Rush is compared to the core game, but Jongler Ghoul is a sad imitation compared to this majesty. Hey folks, just wanted to take a quick break and tell you about the sponsor for today's video, Raycon. Now, normally I try to do some over-the-top advertisement, but I wanted to do earnestness this time around because honestly, I've been getting the most use out of these earbuds than anything any sponsor has ever sent me since I've been doing YouTube stuff. I mean, it's pretty simple. I like listening to music when I do stuff, and I get picky about the kind of earbuds that I use to listen to that stuff, and a lot of them have not impressed me. They fall out, they don't fit right, but these ones have been a constant companion in basically everything that I've done since I've gotten them. And I did our last ad read in November. I don't keep earbuds around that long. I do it when I go do grocery shopping, when I do chores around the apartment, exercising. I'm doing a jogging routine now, and the Raycon earbuds have been incredible for staying in my little ear holes while I exert myself to the limits of human possibility. There's also a couple of other features they want to make sure get into the ad spot. One of them being the ridiculous charge time. I haven't plugged this thing in like 2 days, and I've still been making regular use of it. You can get these protective shells for the charging case. I got the Galaxy-themed one because I love my space stuff, but you can pick from a variety of options. They also come in a lot of different colors. I've got black here, but I was looking on the website, and they've got this really cool red color, and oh, I should have had them send me the red one. It also links to multiple devices too, so if you have a phone or like an iPad or something, you don't have to worry about unlinking it from one and then linking it to another. You can just have them both at the same time. It's pretty convenient. Basically, I have nothing but good things to say about it, and thankfully, Raycon has given me the opportunity to help you get your hands on a pair. Use my link down in the description and get up to 20% off a number of audio products that they offer, including the Raycon Everyday Earbuds. That's the one you're looking out for. Take a look at all their other options, because they have a variety of them you can choose from, but the Everyday Earbuds have been, well, my everyday companion since I got them. It's basically the most useful thing any sponsor has ever sent me. Thank you for sitting through this and watching this ad copy, and now it's time to talk about some more heroes. Alright, that covers the Elemental Hero section. Now it's time for Neos and the neo-spacians. Like with the last section, let's go over what's the same, and this section's going to be a lot smaller, encompassing only Neos, Flare Scarab, and Miracle Contact. As for our slightly different monsters, Air Hummingbird works the same way, but actually has an activation condition this time. You can only gain the life points if your life points are 4,000 or lower. I can kinda see why they'd want to do that, what with the lower power level and all. Every life point gain is that much harder to take away. But you don't refill to 5 until the beginning of your turn, and the whole point is to empty your hand as best as possible each turn. I can hardly imagine you'd ever get anywhere unless you manage this turn 1. Aqua Dolphin, on the other hand, has a lot of little tweaks. It now sends a card from your hand to the graveyard as cost instead of discarding, and it sends the monster from the opposing hand to the graveyard instead of destroying it. It also doesn't punish you if you whiff now, so that's nice. Okay, now it's time for the new stuff. Cross Loader is a level 2 Dark Warrior monster with 400 attack and defense, with the requirement that you activate it during the turn this card was normal summoned. It special summons a level 7 Warrior monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense from your grave face up to your field, but you can only attack with Warrior monsters this turn. And after looking through things, the only monster this qualifies for is Neos, plus a few other Neos derivatives that we'll touch on later. Which isn't bad, though if things go right, Neos is going to get shuffled into your deck, so the best use case is going to be for reclaiming any Neoses that you mill with, like, Rot Wyvern. Or they get smoked before you can make use of them. Either way, you are going to want to find a way to get the Crossloader off the field, because it will also be taking up space alongside that Rot Wyvern. And it turns out that generic fusion monsters haven't quite gotten to the level of saturation as the core game. Unless this effect isn't really worth your while, that is, then you can just cross it off your list. Fake Neos is a level 4 Light Warrior monster with 1300 attack and 1100 defense, with the requirement that has you sending the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. The effect makes this card's name Elemental Hero Neos for the turn, but you can only attack with Warrior monsters that turn. Wow, this Neos alias retrain rules. You lose the bulky level and all you need to do is mill 2 cards, and then you get to shuffle this back into the deck as material to use again later. And unlike Prisma, you can actually play multiple copies of this, so I'm sold. But like, my question is, do you wear the Neos helmet on top of the one you already have? Do you have to swap it out? And if you do, where do you do it? Pre-battle? During battle? Like, what are the logistics here? A Hero Descends is a normal spell card with no requirements, and its effect has you special summoning up to 2 Neo-Spacian Aqua Dolphins, Neo-Spacian Flare Scarabs, and or normal warrior monsters whose total levels equal 7 or less from your graveyard to your field in phase-up defense position. Also that turn, you can only attack with warrior monsters. So despite putting it in the Neos section, that was more because of the card art than anything else. Because it can summon normal warriors, this can actually work with the elemental hero parts as well, assembling your fusion materials for that part. It's also another way to get back Neos or the little tiny Neo-Spacians. Sadly, you can't get both a Neo-Spacian and Neos because of the level limit, but hey, free material is still free material. Honestly, I'm just glad we've got Neos in the Skyscraper art finally. Apparently he's an elemental hero, but I've never seen him team up with any of the others. It's about time we've seen him on patrol. Alright, next up are the Neos fusions, and these actually work pretty differently than the ones we know. They can be summoned by Contact Fusion, which works like it always has, and this time the cards actually mention Contact Fusion, like as a rule. In the core game, Contact Fusion was a colloquial term we picked up because it's called Contact Fusion in the anime and the flavor text, but it's never actually been called Contact Fusion in the mechanics of the game. But back on track here, it doesn't just have to be contact fused, we can use regular fusion too, and we can even revive this from the graveyard because it doesn't just have to be fusion summoned, meaning that Crossloader actually has 3 more targets it can bring back, and each of them has some pretty cool effects. Elemental Hero Heat Neos is a level 7 Fire Warrior monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense, requiring Elemental Hero Neos and neo-spacian Flare Scarab as material. Its requirement is to send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, with the effect boosting this card's attack by the number of cards on the field times 200 until the end of the turn. Yeah, we're not recycling the old fusions, we're making new ones. And as far as these go, well, they're better investments than the old ones. They don't shuffle back during the end phase like the originals, thank goodness. So now it comes down to how powerful they are, and admittedly, there is a bit of a speed bump here. The old Flare Neos gained 400 attack for each back row on the field, and that was a continuous effect, so it worked during both players' turns. Meanwhile, you need twice as many cards in general for the same output, and it only works during your own turn. But it only takes 3 cards to get it over the 3k threshold, and Heat Neos is one of them, so it's not terrible, just a little lackluster. It's the least impressive of the trio, certainly, but I can see an argument otherwise, especially if it's a heated debate. Elemental Hero Pulse Neos is a level 7 Water Warrior fusion monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense that requires Elemental Hero Neos and the neo-spacian Aqua Dolphin as material. It has the usual Contact Fusion text and no requirements for the effect, which destroys a face-up level 9 or lower monster on your opponent's field. Yeah, just straight up removal every turn, how's that for a threat? I presume the limit is there because every maximum monster I've seen is level 10, so this means we can't just snipe every big threat in the game, but everything else is fair game, and that's pretty far out. It's bland, but effective. I guess that's where they got the name from. They weren't looking for any particular heroes that were exciting, they just needed somebody with a pulse. Elemental Hero Sky Neos is a level 7 Wind Warrior fusion monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense, requiring Elemental Hero Neos and neo-spacian Air Hummingbird as material. It has the usual Contact Fusion text, and the requirement is that your life points and your opponents must be different, and you have to send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This enables the effect, which for the turn lets it make 2 attacks on monsters. So where Pulse can deal with 1 big monster, Sky Neos can dole out the punishment to 2 smaller ones. The damage potential is a lot higher here too, but I'm not quite sold on the coolness factor. Though a big 1000 point boost from Skyscraper does turn this into a 3500 attack double attacker, which is way more ruthless. But it is with this card that we've seen the inner machinations of the design team. They didn't make new Neos fusions to fit with Rush Duels. Okay, maybe they did that, but they also did it as another way to cover up the existence of Air Neos. Once again, this mysterious creature has been hidden from public view. What are your secrets, Konami? Alright, that's all the teams we know and love. Now it's time for a new territory, the Rush exclusive Rising Heroes. They're all light warriors, even the off-brand one we'll get to first, and are basically support for elemental heroes. They're all named after some kind of metal, so we literally have a Metal Heroes team. Finally! Rise Motor Contractor is a level 3 monster with 900 attack and 1000 defense, whose requirement needs you to have Rising Hero Argent or a level 7 warrior fusion monster face-up on your field, sending this face-up card from the field to the graveyard. The effect makes a face-up monster your opponent controls lose 2000 attack until the end of the turn. Yeah, it's basically a glorified attack debuff. Not bad, but that's really all it is. Hard to really expand on that, though it does make a sterling point of treading all over the competition. Rising Hero Manicanidor is a level 3 monster with 900 attack and 1000 defense, same as Rise Motor. That's weird. And its requirement has you placing a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, which gives you an effect that adds a Rising Hero Argent or Rising Hero Tantalum from your graveyard to your hand. Those are the remaining 2 members of the team, so being able to turn in a brick for a better player seems pretty phenomenal. Actually, does Rush even have any bricks? Like, I get maximum monsters can be mismatched, but that doesn't seem applicable for this setup. But if we do get a Hero Maximum monster, I reserve the right to scream about it with supreme enthusiasm. Rising Hero Argent is a level 4 monster with 1000 attack and defense, with the requirement of revealing a level 6 or 7 warrior monster from your extra deck. The effect has you excavating the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can add up to 2 excavated normal monsters listed as material on the monster you revealed to meet the requirements to your hand, and place the others on the bottom of the deck in any order. So you can reveal any of the Neos fusions to dig for Neos, you can reveal Burst Wingman to fish for Avion or Burstinatrix, but not Voltic Wingman, it has too low of a level to be revealed for this. However, I think the best option would be Heliosphere, because that gives you 3 names to look for. Now you can't grab 3 cards, but it does increase your odds. And you get it pretty much for free. But I gotta wonder how you have such a keyed up mech suit and you still only have 1000 attack. What are you armed with, Nerf guns? Our last monster is Rising Hero Tantalum, a level 7 monster with 2500 attack and 1000 defense, with the requirement to send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. The effect has this card gaining 400 attack until the end of the turn, and if you have a face-up warrior fusion monster on your field, you can also return a face-up level 8 or lower monster on your opponent's field to the hand. Hey look, another crossloader target! This thing is a menace, punching in for 2900 attack with some removal to help out one of your big fusions. And you can recycle it with Mana Canister, so you've got this big brute on standby, and it's even there to help eat up all the junk monsters you have on your field for its tributes. So it's easy to see how Tantalum can be so tantalizing. So that's all the hero cards, but what do we do with them? Well, seems the same as our usual hero game plan: get the material together, make bombastic monsters, and crush our opponents with what we get. Easy peasy. As for how to help accomplish this goal, well, my knowledge of the card pool is pretty bad, but I did check the structure deck that the elemental heroes came in, so here are some cool text that it gave that you may want to keep in mind if you ever want to play the deck yourself. The legendary slot for monsters is pretty clearly taken up by Prisma, but what about spells? Polymerization seems like the right pick for its added flexibility, but we shouldn't overlook the warrior returning alive, which helps pick our material out of our graveyard to use again. It could even get back Prisma, can you believe that? Or, you know, you could just play Graceful freaking Charity! Yeah, that card exists in this game for some reason, and even in Rush. Being able to dig 3 cards deeper into your deck while giving you a chance to set up your graveyard is kinda bonkers. A card I can believe isn't a legend is Magical Stone Excavation. Pitching cards doesn't mean much when you can draw up to a big fistful of cards next turn, and you can recycle Miracle Fusion by discarding the fusion material you wanted to use, which is absolutely brilliant. That being said, even though it's not a legend card, it is currently limited on the Rush ban list, so don't expect to be playing a lot of this, just some of this. For the trap card slot, Quaking Mirror Force seems pretty slick. It's not as powerful as the core version, it doesn't lock up the monsters you flip face down, but that may be all you need, especially since the lack of a main phase 2 will keep them face down until their next turn, if they still have those monsters. And it even hits face-up defense position monsters, that's kind of funny. Piercing Samurai feels like the perfect pair to Sky Neos, granting piercing battle damage to one of your warriors if you have at least 3 face-up monsters on your field, something that will hopefully not be a problem. Horn Knives, the Music Princess, has a chance of milling a warrior, which then gives you back a normal warrior from your graveyard, giving you another way to recycle needed fusion material. Shitotsu, the Talismanic Warrior, is one that I overlooked at first because I thought it would only be useful in getting back Argent, but lo and behold, it also gets back Avion. Well, despite my misgivings, it's apparently such a stellar effect that it sees play in current hero brews, so I guess keep an eye out for it. Mizame, the Ringing Alarm, gets you a level 7 or higher warrior from your grave and puts it into your hand the turn it's normal summoned if your opponent has a face-up monster with 2500 or more attack, but you can't attack with anything that has 1900 or less defense, something that's not a big problem for our big fusions. Though at that point, I'd rather just use Secret Order. It summons Neos out from your hand or graveyard, turns it into a 3200 attack monster for the turn, and being destroyed by your opponent's trap card effects is a no-go. Star Restart is a huge boon to fusion decks, especially ones that use normal monsters. For the cost of itself and another card in your hand, you get a level 5 or lower normal monster from your grave back onto your field, and it puts fusion back into your hand. That's 2/3 of a fusion summon right there. You can also play Star of the Beginner, which has a measly 500 life point cost to start, and for what you get is 2 mills, which helps you fill up your graveyard. Then you can take any level 5 or lower normal monster, fusion, or polymerization from your grave and put it back into your hand. That's right, we've got a way to reuse one of the game's vaunted legend cards, though it still has a lot of utility, even if we choose not to play that one in particular. Yami Ruler, the Dark Delayer Supreme Soldier Spear, gives protection to all of your face-up level 7 or higher warrior monsters you control, as well as celestial warriors if you're accessing that monster type, keeping them from being destroyed by your opponent's trap card effects, keeping your big investments safe from interaction. Though being a 2 tribute is going to be a bit of an investment. Like in the core game, Prisma is capable of helping you make all kinds of fusion monsters, not just the hero ones. So if you're feeling adventurous, there are a few off-brand ones you might be interested in. Hero of the Kin just adds a level 4 or lower normal warrior monster from your grave to your hand every turn, stapled onto a pretty sizable body. Altiera, the Sky Savior Transience, literally keeps your opponent from playing any normal spells outside of fusion, which is kinda messed up. And Ether F Seeker can ascend to a blazing 3000 attack while recycling you copies of Fusion and your normal monsters. As for a silly tech pick, well, we've got another Fusion that's got all the right traits to it and even has some anime cred to it too. Seven's Paladin. With the diverse attributes of our elemental hero monsters, we can get a huge bonus off that attack stat fairly easily, and, should we need it, we can also just recycle a monster back into our deck for a cheeky little draw. Heck, not only is Prisma ideal for substituting the material of Seven's Road Magician, being recycled by Paladin gives us another shot at using our legend card. And that's all I've got to say about Rush Heroes. Honestly, I had a lot less to say in the beginning, but thanks to my lovely patrons who got to see this video early, we added on a lot of extra stuff, including that silly tech pick. But for all of those less familiar with Rush Duels card pool, my question is, what card out of all of these would you like to see most come over to the core game? For those less familiar, what card out of all of these would you like to see get imported into the core game? I don't know how these cards will affect the Rush meta, but they seem very strong and easy to access. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm hungry for the knowledge, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. I've got at least one more Rush project in the works right now, and be sure to share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode was brought to you by Raycon. Make sure to use my link down below to get up to 20% off a number of different audio products, including the Raycon Everyday Earbuds, my preferred choice for listening to music on the go. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media, and Sir Knight JCB, Nebula Navigators 3rd Dynasty, 50 Gigabytes, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Kane Senpai, Charlie Mercury, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Copperbottom, Eric, Frankie, Garland Chaos, Green Knight, Great Big Pillock, Hair Bear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Garp, Marion James E. Picata, Mike Cook, Millennia Asta, Muse Clark, Neon Yami Nair, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Boos, Rank 10 Trains, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, Sonic 21 Blast, The Critic of Innocence, Thievery Coast and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Ally Vatnia, Animasta, Anthrak, A Random Pup, Baden von Titty Sprinkles, Beluga Masta, Blitzwolf, Chaz Ghost, Chibi Gohan, again, Christopher Fuss, again, Chris B, Cool Trainer Dark, Dante Lawson, Dr. Entity RIP, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Kale the Dragon, Lobomaru02, Manga Pages, Martin Moore 2468, Natiel Lee Alexander, Nitromo, Not Al Gore, Nyx, Obsidian, Pombo, Rhyme Kairos, Shwenny, Shizuki Nijimura, Sophie, apparently, Sphilia, Stephen Williamson, The Legendary Raven, The Phantom Knights of Shitted Pants, The Queen of Time, The Gene, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara, Zaldrucka and Zero De Nova, as well as the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you're familiar with how Rush Duels operate, check out this video where I explain how it all comes together. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. bye-bye.